Good evening, everyone, and thank you all for coming. In the Renner home, we like to think that good things happen in threes. Earlier this month, my daughter Margaret was appointed to represent her class in the student council. She's 6 years old. She ran on a platform of I like arts and crafts. This past week, my son John, who's a freshman at Guilford High School, decided to run for the position of class vice president with his friend Will, because that job is too big for any one man. And now here I am, Susan Koch Renner, running in my first election for a seat on the Board of Education. It's too late to turn back. My name is on the ruler. Don't let these lighthearted remarks fool you. I consider myself a patriotic American. I take my right and privilege of voting very seriously, and to me the logical extension of that is the opportunity to run in an election here in the town of Guilford. And I'm extremely grateful to you, my fellow Republicans, for allowing me the chance to do this. I'd like to mention that a person can only be a rookie for one season, and I'm so pleased to be on the team that I've joined. My fellow Board of Ed candidates, Keith, Linda, and John, have been terrific and very helpful to me as a newcomer. And I think that this whole group of candidates is really outstanding. These are serious-minded, hard-working people who know the problems that face Guilford. They have real solutions, and they're here for us. They care about our rights as taxpayers. They're interested in making sure that we can keep as much of the money that we earn as possible. They care about our rights as property owners. They're here for us, and I think that we're blessed to have so many outstanding individuals willing to represent us. Let me mention a couple of demographics about the candidates. The obvious one is the fact that we are 50-50 men and women, which I think is very cool. Right now, among these same elected boards here in town, I think we're 30% women. I think there's another group here in town that has something similar going on right now to what we're doing, one woman out of 8. So I think that the Republican Party here is really showing the future face of the Republican Party. Another demographic that I'll give you that may not be as obvious. Once we've achieved our success in November, we will have placed a professional accountant on each of the 3 major elected boards here in town. Joe Mazza is our first selectman, Kimberly Brockett continuing on the Board of Finance, and myself, Susan Renner. I've been a CPA for 25 years, and I'd love to be joining the Board of Education and bringing that experience to the board. Now, you might ask, why do we need to have a CPA on the Board of Education? To me, the answer is obvious. First, any effective board, whether it's a corporate board, nonprofit, or governmental board, needs to have a diversity of representation. Different people with different backgrounds and different perspectives looking at the same problems. Now, we accountants, we're not just number crunchers. We look at things in a certain way. We're analytical, we're skeptical, we question things. These skills are valuable anywhere, particularly when you think about the 2 huge issues, financial issues, into which the new Board of Ed will immediately plunge. You realize that these skills are very important. Without restating everything that those who've come before me have said, we have the school facilities dilemma, which has been going on in this town for years, needs to be handled with a greater sense of urgency, needs to illustrate some more leadership than what we've been seeing so far. And also the new 2010-2011 budget, an immediate job. Again, the Board of Ed budget is about 2/3 of the town's total budget, very important, and we need to have some good analytical eyes looking at all of that. So let me tell you how my experience is perfect for this job. I've been a CPA for 25 years, and I spent the first half of that time with the large national public accounting firms, Arthur Young at first, and then McLadry and Pullen. This was back in a time when the whole governmental field was growing quickly for the CPA firms. A lot of business there, as there were new regulations, new requirements, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, the Single Audit Act. All of this was going on at the time. And I got involved with the firm where I was working as a specialist in the governmental accounting and auditing area. In fact, I had the chance to run the town of Guilford audit for a couple of years. This was back when Len Hubbard was the town treasurer, and we had our very first finance director, Jack Allen. This is when I really developed my interest in the way government operates. I was also involved with that firm with staff training and development and technical, reviewing reports for technical issues, which means that I can take one of those 100-page reports and understand and possibly even enjoy looking at it. From there, when my family was young, I decided to form my own CPA firm. So I organized as a sole proprietor, and I served the municipalities and tax districts and other governmental entities that really didn't have the resources to afford one of these big CPA firms. And I did that for a number of years, Town of Durham, and a lot of the small tax and fire districts in the area. Now, the second half of my career was something totally different and something that's been just a lot of fun for me. I work with a company based here in town called American Cruise Lines. People tend not to know that there's a cruise line located here in Guilford. Our headquarters is here. We are in the small ship cruising industry. We own, right now, 4 cruise ships and are building a 5th. And I'll add that we build our own cruise ships with a related company located out of state. My job as treasurer means that I'm in charge of the entire financial aspect of this operation. We have 400 employees, although only about 10% of those are here in Guilford. So I hope that you'll see that my accounting, my financial, and my business background is going to be useful in my role on the Board of Education. All right. Enough about the professional background. On the personal side, let me tell you 3 things about myself that I'd like you all to know. Most important is that I'm a mom. I mentioned Margaret and John, who are in school here in Guilford. I have 2 kids who've already graduated and are now in college, went all the way through Guilford schools. I have Robert, who's here tonight from UConn. He's come to watch me squirm. And my daughter Katie was here last weekend passing out rulers in the parade. So they're all, this is a family operation here. My husband, Phil, is also in the audience. We've been married for almost 21 years. Secondly, I'm a Guilford High School graduate myself. I'm a lifelong Guilford resident. In fact, my grandparents came to Guilford from Hungary over 100 years ago, which means we're not exactly bishops, but we do have roots in the community. In fact, my dad grew up playing on the Goss property as a child because my grandmother was their family cook for a number of years. And I myself grew up in my dad's shop. My dad ran Shoreline Television, a business on Water Street, for over 50 years. So I grew up in the record racks looking at the Beatles 45s and heading over to Dowden's for a checkerberry soda. So I consider myself very blessed to have roots in this community. The third thing I'd like you to know is that I believe deeply in public education. And here's why. We in this room, we're not going to solve the world's problems. But our job is to raise the next generation of leaders, of scientists, of stewards of the earth, the people who are going to cure the diseases, the peacemakers. That's our job. It's all of our job. That's why it's public education. It's all of our job. The shared responsibility. The other thing we share here is the cost. So we have to be ever mindful that the hard truth is that we have to make some realistic decisions about perhaps what we need versus what we want, given that our financial resources are not unlimited. I'm thrilled that my kids have a chance to be in school here in Guilford. Our kids in Guilford are very fortunate with what they have. There's always room for improvement. We have, I think, a great administration. I'm thrilled that my kids are at both Calvin Lee and Guilford High School. A lot of energy at both of those schools, a lot of exciting things happening. I'm looking forward to being a part of all of that. So that's who I am. I'm a CPA with broad professional and business experience, including specific experience in governmental accounting. I'm a mom who understands the current needs of our families and our community today. I also have the perspective of having gone through the process, and I can look back and see what was really important in my family, which was the quality of the instruction and today technology. I'm a resident of Guilford with a love of our town, and I'd like to think an understanding of the very different populations that live here, and a proud American who's very pleased to have an opportunity to go through this process. I hope that you'll support me in November and the rest of our Republican team. Thank you very much.